Tokyo, February 11th, 1990. Round 10. The most feared man on the planet is on his hands and knees, feeling around the canvas like a man who has lost his keys in the dark. He finds his mouthpiece. He tries to put it in backwards. The referee counts 10. James Buster Douglas, a 42-1 underdog whose mother died 23 days before this fight, is being lifted into the air. Mike Tyson is 23 years old. He has been heavyweight champion of the world since he was 20. He will never really be champion again. That night, everyone asked the same question. How did Douglas do it? That was the wrong question. What broke Mike Tyson did not happen in Tokyo. It happened 10 years earlier in a gym above a police station in the Catskills. And it was done with love. What happened to him has a name. Psychologists have studied it for 60 years. It is not rage. It is not the money. It is not a lack of discipline. It is closer to the opposite. And most men are running the same script right now without ever having read it. One man, one moment, one mechanism. This is what actually broke Mike Tyson. Brownsville, Brooklyn, the 1970s. A neighborhood Tyson himself described as a place where dreams went to die and survival was the whole curriculum. The father is gone. The mother is drowning in addiction. The boy is small, soft, with glasses and a lisp and a high voice. The other kids have a name for him, Fairy Boy. He does not fight back. He hides on the rooftop with his pigeons. The birds are the only thing in his life that he loves and that cannot hurt him. Then one day an older boy takes one of his pigeons and tears its head off in front of him. And the soft kid, with a lisp, throws his first punch. Something opens that day that will take 40 years to close. By the age of 12, he has been arrested 38 times. The city finally ships him upstate to the Tryon School for Boys in a correctional facility. This is where the story should end, a statistic in the making. It is 1979, and nobody is coming for boys like this. Except somebody comes. A counselor named Bobby Stewart, a former fighter, sees something in the boy that frightens him a little, and he makes a phone call to an old man in the Catskills, Constantine D'Amato. Cuss, 70 years old, half blind from a street fight in his own childhood, son of Italian immigrants, maker of champions. He had built Floyd Patterson. He had been waiting in a gym above a police station for one more. Kuss watches the 13-year-old spar for a few minutes. And then he says the sentence that will decide the next 40 years. That is the heavyweight champion of the world. Listen to what just happened. Nobody asked the boy what he wanted to be. The most important question of a young man's life, who are you, was answered for him by someone else before he was old enough to ask it. And here is the terrible part. It was the kindest thing anyone had ever done for him. Every man inherits a script before he is old enough to read it. His said, champion. Most scripts are quieter than that. If you already know what yours says, share in the comments if you don't mind. Kuss rebuilds the boy from the studs. The peekaboo style. Gloves welded to the cheeks, head moving like water, explosions from the shell. But the real training is psychological. Kuss teaches him that fear is fuel, that fights are won in the mind before the first bell. When Tyson's mother dies, he is 16. Kuss legally adopts him. The script is now the family. The family is now the script, and the script works. 1985, 15 professional fights, 15 knockouts. Then in November of that year, Kuss D'Amato dies. He never sees the title. The boy cries at the funeral and then does the only thing he knows how to do. He executes the script. November 22nd, 1986. Trevor Berbick tries to stand twice and falls twice. Mike Tyson is heavyweight champion of the world at 20 years and 4 months old. The youngest in history. Then he unifies everything. Bone Crusher Smith, Pinklon Thomas, Tony Tucker. He knocks out the legendary Larry Holmes. In June 1988, he destroys the undefeated Michael Spinks in 91 seconds. He is just 22, and he is already the most famous athlete on earth. The script had one line, and he has already said it. A quiet word before the fall. Stories like this one are how men learn, from what breaks us and from what builds us back. If that is worth your time, subscribe and I'll keep telling them. Now, back to him. Because at 22, with the whole world at his feet, Mike Tyson has just run out of script. Now watch closely, because this is where everyone misreads what happened. The story you have heard blames the vultures. Don King, who moved in after Cuss died and pried Tyson away from everyone who knew him. The firing of Kevin Rooney in 1988, the last man alive who spoke Cuss's language. The tabloid divorce from Robin Givens, conducted on national television. The entourage, the Bentleys bought like lottery tickets. All of it is true. None of it is the cause. Remember, vultures only circle something that is already wounded. Without Rooney, the head stops moving. The shell opens. The craftsman becomes a headhunter, lunging with single punches because the champion doesn't need craft, and champion is all he is. In Tokyo, he barely trains. Douglas, fighting for his dead mother, fights like a man with nothing to protect. Tyson fights like a man with nothing underneath. Then it gets darker. In 1992, Tyson is convicted of raping 18-year-old Desiree Washington, and this story does not look away from that. A jury heard the evidence and found him guilty. He serves 3 years in an Indiana prison. Whatever was broken in him had begun breaking other people. He comes out in 1995 to the richest comeback in boxing history, and it is hollow on arrival. He collects belts against soft opposition. Then Evander Holyfield, written off 25-1, simply refuses to be afraid of him and watches the menace dissolve in real time. 11th round stoppage, and in the rematch, June 28th, 1997, the champion who once embodied cold discipline bites a piece out of another man's ear. Twice, disqualified, license revoked, $3 million fine. Asked later why he did it, he said, "I just wanted to kill him." The rest is a long fall filmed in slow motion. Knocked out by Lennox Lewis in 2002. Bankrupt in 2003. $300 million. Gone into houses, jewelry, lawyers, and king's ledgers. And in 2005, after quitting on his stool against a journeyman named Kevin McBride, he says the truest thing he has ever said into a microphone. "I don't have the stomach for this anymore. The armor had outlived the war. There was no one left inside it." So what actually broke him? In 1966, the same year Tyson was born, a psychologist named James Marsha mapped how young men build an identity. A real identity needs 2 things: exploration, trying on selves, failing, choosing, and commitment, planting a flag. A man who explores and then commits knows who he is, because he built it. But there is a shortcut: commitment without exploration. An identity handed to you, fully formed by someone you love, and welded on before you ever asked a question. Marsha called it identity foreclosure. Foreclosed men are the best performers you will ever meet. They are focused, driven, decorated, because all the energy other boys spend searching, they spend executing. The system runs perfectly as long as the script keeps working, as long as the author is alive. Kusti Yamato answered the question, "Who are you?" for a terrified 13-year-old, and it saved that boy's life. And because the answer was installed rather than chosen, there was nothing behind it. When Kuss died, the author was gone. When Douglas landed, the script failed. When the script failed, the entire self failed, because the script was the entire self. Everything after Tokyo, the bite, the rage, the spending, the confession that he had no stomach left, is not a man falling apart. It is a man discovering there was never a man in there to fall apart. There was a champion. Cuss built it beautifully. Nobody ever built the rest. Now forget Tyson for a minute because this part is about you. You were handed a script too. It was quieter than heavyweight champion of the world. Maybe it said the responsible one, the eldest son who raised himself, the provider, the strong one who doesn't need anything. Maybe you chose your career at 17 because your father nodded at one option and not the other. And you have been executing that nod for 20 years and calling it your personality. Here is the part nobody wants to hear. Discipline did not fail Mike Tyson. Discipline is what broke him. Discipline is the welding torch. It is how a borrowed identity gets sealed on before you're old enough to ask whose it was. The grind does not reveal who you are. Very often, it is how you avoid ever finding out. There is a simple test, and it is the one Tyson failed in Tokyo. Ask yourself who you are when the mission ends. The day the job goes, the title goes, the kids leave, or the body slows. If the answer is silence, that is not a flaw in you, that is foreclosure. And the work is not more discipline. The work is the exploration you were never allowed to do. Asked late, it is painful. Unasked, it simply picks its own date. It took Tyson 30 years and everything he had. But look at where the story ends. Sober. Married. A stage show where he stands alone and takes his own inventory in front of strangers. A business empire built, with a straight face, on an ear-shaped gummy. And at 58, after the Jake Paul circus, they asked him about his legacy. The champion's most sacred word. He said legacy is just another word for ego. That 6 feet under, it is nothing but dust. The man who was handed an identity at 13 finally put it down. He still keeps pigeons, by the way. He kept the birds. He let go of the champion. Tell me in the comments what your script said and who wrote it. I share stories like this every week. Like and subscribe to see more of this. Thanks for watching. Cheers to growth. Until next time.